So lately, there's been a lot of discussions about race, more so than normal. Um, and I guess it has been exacerbated by the culture that we currently have. So, am I a racist? That depends on how you define racist, which has seen an evolution or devolution, depending on how you want to look at it, since I've been alive. In the 70s and 80s and 90s, it seems like race wasn't that big a deal. I mean, it was obviously, something that we were aware of and discussed, but it was considered trashy for white people or really anybody to use, the N word. God, I hate having to say that, the N word. Censorship. And it seems like the races respected each other more. Am I a racist? Well, one definition of racism, the old definition, was believing that one race was genetically superior to another and therefore deserved special treatment, legally or otherwise. I am way too much of a paleoanthropology nerd to believe that there are significant differences between the races. Now, there are differences, okay? If you come from European stock, you've probably got more Neanderthal DNA in you, 2%, 4% at max, I think. If you're Asian in descent, you probably have more Denisovan DNA. If your roots are sub-Saharan Africa, you might have just a very little bit of Neanderthal DNA, but not as much as, say, the Europeans. So, do these differences produce noticeable fluctuations in ability and character? I don't think so. While there may be, some people who have low IQs, say from, African descent, there are plenty of black people who are, smarter than me. And there are plenty of Asian people smarter than me. If there's no hard cap on intellect, on IQ, then you can't say that one race is superior to the other. I'm not talking about cultures here. I'm talking about the intrinsic, inherent ability of people. So no, if you use that definition of racist, then I'm not a racist. But that definition has changed in my lifetime. Now the definition of racist for many is if you have a preference to be with your own race, a preference not to be around other races, then that makes you a racist. Only if you're white, though. Blacks, every other group is allowed to have their enclaves. I think that everybody is racist to some degree or another. And I say that because genetically we are predisposed to find our own kind. We are predisposed to be more comfortable around people who look like us. And the more they look and resemble us, the more comfortable we feel. And the less, they look like us, the more uncomfortable we feel, all the way up into the uncanny valley. So yeah, I prefer, generally speaking, to be around people who resemble me and have similar cultural touchstones and backgrounds to where we can converse and bond. I don't think that makes me a racist. That makes me someone who has preferences. But, like I was saying to somebody the other day, the word racist has been overused so much that it has become basically meaningless. It's like the word hero or patriot. No, they've just been run into the ground. So calling somebody a racist, I guess there's probably some people who still get offended. I don't. Now, culturally, yeah, I am. If you want to say I'm a racist culturally, I think ghetto blacks are vile. Don't know how else to put it. But there's an important distinction there. Ghetto blacks. And we all know what I'm talking about. But I've dated, black women. Best friend I ever had was black. When he died, I paid a lot of money to bury him. Took care of his family until they got on their feet. So, I don't know. That doesn't seem like the actions of a racist to me. But, he wasn't a ghetto black. He was just black. Good guy. I made a video about him, Danny. If you ever want to learn about him. Great man. He was a great man. I miss him every day. I know a lot of people do. It has become acceptable for other ethnic groups to disparage whites. You hear cracker this, cracker that. But God forbid it goes the other way. God forbid you say, in this or in that. Oh, then that's awful. The black community has really got to start policing itself. If y'all really hated the N-word, you wouldn't use it. It has become an excuse to act violent. Like a Pavlov's dog. You hear that bell, and all of a sudden, you're all teeth and fist over a word. Yeah, white people find this ridiculous. It makes y'all look cartoonish, baboonish. I'm not saying that it's a polite thing to say. It's not. I was brought up not to use that word. But people who use that word are trashy. But we have deferred so much to the blacks that many of them now think it's a birthright, to do whatever they want to white people. And we're sick of it. So yeah, you're seeing a lot of white people whose attitudes are changing. We put in the work, your community didn't. We were taught that racism is bad from an early age. that it weakened society, that it was morally unjust. And we bought into that. And we actively tried to be more inclusive. And where did it get us? You can't go to the mall anymore because of the ghetto blacks. They ruin everything they touch. Lord, man, I mean, if you're viewing this from somewhere other than Mobile, Alabama, can you go to Chuck E. Cheese? Can you go to the Chuck E. Cheese in your city? Because I'm telling you here, we can't. Or Jump Zone, or any place that these ghetto blacks like to congregate. They're violent, they're emotional, low IQ, no impulse control. So, I've said this about other groups, trans people, for example. I believe everybody should have the same equal rights under the law. But no group should be put above another. That includes blacks, that includes whites, that includes Asians, Latins. What do we call the Latins? They tried to make it Latinx, and that didn't work. Y'all know what I'm talking about when I say the Latins, okay? And if that is a derogatory term, you never know these days. You got to have a damn scorecard to know what is acceptable and what isn't. Then I was going to say I'm sorry, but I really don't care. But, the Latins don't seem to have their ass on their shoulders as much as the blacks. And the Asians, let's not even talk about them, man. They make everybody look bad. Polite, law-abiding, smart, good income. China is going to raise to ascendancy by the end of the century. I'll make another video about that. So anyhow, I'm probably repeating myself and rambling, and for that I do apologize. I don't know why anybody watches these videos. It's just an old man, talking to himself. But if you find it of interest, please, I'd love to have a conversation. I am open to my worldview being altered if provided with a compelling enough argument or facts. Right now, the compelling arguments and facts are telling me to stay as far away from ghetto blacks as possible. And many of my fellow whites have latched on to just that philosophy. So anyhow, heavy topic. Hope y'all are having a good day.